Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to day 5 of 30 Inks 30 Days. This is the color for today that I've chosen. It is a kind of a burgundy red pink. I say that because it's got a lot going on. It's also got a gold sheen, which is, it can be difficult to see, but it really leaves some cool highlights. So it's Sailor and it's Grenade, and here's the bath test result. Now this is Rhodia 90 gram. It's a writing tablet that I just cut into 4 pieces to get, you know, these little sheets to do this with. And as you can see, it completely changed color and just remained blue, and you could still read it. But so it has some water resistance, but not that much. And we'll see the chromatography here in a minute. I think this is a beautiful ink, and let's get right into the Bond Travel Journal. 68 GSM Chamoy River paper in here. And look at this. Okay, I'm doing this now because it was dark all morning, and now finally we've got a little daylight, you know, real light too, to help things out. But here it is. Little slightly different availability that I found. I actually found this at a new place, or new to me. I didn't know about Pen Boutique, so I may have spelled that wrong. It doesn't look right, but it's a very interesting place that I hadn't heard of, and they had a 50 ml bottle of this. So also Anderson Pens had a sample and a bottle, and Pen Chalet had it on sale actually for the 50 ml bottle for $22.22, and they also were selling a 4 ml sample. So right at this moment it's widely available, but I was reading that these were discontinued in the past, and if you want to get it, you know, those awful words like not limited edition, that's not what they're saying now, but it kind of gave me that hint. So I just love this. It's to me it's maroon, but I can see where a lot of pink comes out, and it can look red. It can definitely, to me though, it looks maroon. So in the broad nib, it took about 30 seconds to dry on this Chamoy River paper. And then, let me hold this up a little better. In the Goulet stub, it took less, which I do not know why, but 25 seconds, and it was dry. I really loved it in the stub. I could see some shading and color variation that really made me happy. Subtle, not too crazy, but it was nice. And then in the Lamy Fine nib, it took about 20 seconds to dry. Now on this paper, I could, you know, if you get the light just right, you can see the gold kind of, I'd call it a sheen. At first, it looks almost like it's a shimmer ink, but you can't really see that good with the lighting and camera. So, oh, it's unfortunate because it's very subtle, and that's the reason it's not being picked up. But I like it for that. I really do, especially in the stub nib. But I noticed it throughout the writing samples in the broad nib. It didn't do that much in the fine nib, but it still did some variation of where it was almost like shading. And here's the chromatography. You see all that pink and red? It's crazy, and that little bit of blue, I guess, is responsible. You know, it stays. It stays when you do the water test, so that's interesting. My impressions are it's just lovely. It shades nicely, and it flows very well. It's one of those cases where 2 ml sample is not going to be enough, because even with just one full day with it, it's going to be gone. I'm sure I'm going to be more excited about writing letters with this. And I saw when I printed quite a bit more shading with this ink. The gold sheen is subtle but beautiful, I put. Yeah, I'm excited about this ink, which is, wow, it's kind of early in the 30 Inks 30 Days to be like wanting to order ink. Hello, Chris. I got a lot of samples to go through, but here's the Rhodia. This is 80 GSM paper and on a dot grid. And it really looks nice on here too. Here's in the broad nib, about 20 seconds to dry on this paper. Okay, and I'm realizing I didn't turn over the Chamoy River paper again. Let's see which day I get to before I remember to do it the first time. Nice amount of shading and line, you know, variation in this stuff, which is harder to show on camera, but I'm seeing it and I really like it. 20 seconds to dry. Oddly. Well, I say oddly because I was just surprised. That's pretty good. And then in the fine nib on this paper, I liked it better than on Chamoy River or CVS. It looked really nice. It doesn't quite give you as much of the gold sheen coming out of this nib of mine. And I put a note. I see gold sheen, subtle, on the stub sample and a little on the broad. Good shading in all nibs. Yeah, especially when I printed. Something about my printing slows it down enough, I guess. Okay, so on the back, no bleed through and no shadowing to speak of. Let's return to the Chamoy River paper and look for that. We're going to be seeing yesterday's ink, but really, you see some ghosting, but not much. I don't even think the camera's going to really pick it up too much, just maybe a little bit, but it looked good, so no problems there. Okay, let's get into the CVS Caliber notebook. It's a 5x7 one, a little bit bigger than my old standard one I was using. Now, the ink lightens on this paper, and in this particular case for me, that doesn't not make me happy. I would rather see it in its darker, more maroon-like format. Let's see if we can, you know, and the difference is subtle, but I really liked it better on the other papers than the CVS, but it certainly wrote well on here. Like, it flowed really well in these two nibs, for sure, but it just liked how it presented better on the other paper. You got a little more of the gold coming through on that rather than on here. You could kind of, where it was put on heavily, see it, but that's just something I thought I would make a note of. I'm not unhappy with it. I certainly would take notes and work with this if I had more than 2 mils, but I'm going to save, what's left is going to be all for letter writing tonight. And I may even run it dry. I'll let you know tomorrow if I run that sample right out. I've already cleaned one vial, so I'm doing really good. In the fine nib, you know, there was nothing wrong with the writing experience, but I felt like it lightened enough that it took away that darker aspect. And it could be that I just, like, I remember J. Arbonne Rouge Granat. That was really a favorite, and we'll look at that on the panel in a minute. So let's see if you can remember to look on the back. This paper seldom bleeds through. Sometimes it'll seep through, but there's not much of that going on here. So it's pretty. Okay, so yeah, I think we'll stick. No, I'm indecisive. I did have a bookmark in the old ink journal, and I might as well just show you. I wanted to flip back to J. Arbonne Rouge Granat. It's deeper. It has a different appearance to it, and yet it did really remind me of that ink of today. So I just wanted to show you real quick, even though it's kind of hard because the other papers are not on the cream like this, so that makes it a little tough. But anyway, I got a chance to show you. And here's the color comparison panel. There's a lot to look at, not only here on these 9, but I've got some other side colors to show you too. So right in the middle is our ink of the day, Sailor Grenade. And this is where I started to realize, wow, I've got to look in 3 different color types. I've got to look in maroons, I've got to look in pink, and then I also needed to look into red. These are what made the panel are not matches by any means, but they were what reminded me the most of the color. And then I've got some other contrasting ones too to show you. So here's that J. Arbonne Rouge Granat. I really loved that. It was a deep maroon kind of color, and it just was gorgeous coming off the nib. That was a sample from one of our, no, I was going to say Ink Flight, but I believe I may have ordered that one. And then Napa Burgundy is another one I really liked. Just really pretty. And yet, look how complex and interesting that is. And I think it's because of all the pink. We just saw in the chromatography that a lot of pink comes out. You know, a lot. So it kind of explains it. And then over here, Tasha Ebby Purple Red, you know, that was interesting too to me, that it's got a lot of purple in it. And I remember the chromatography had a big purple section to it. So it's not the same, but it had some sheen. It had gold sheen, I remember. This was exciting because, whoops, now I'm fixing it where you can't see the words on the bottom. Oh, and this is a new one. So this is the Jacques Arbon Rue d'Orient, and we'll be doing these as soon as this series finishes. The 10 series of the standard full line that they've put out, that Goulet Pens sent me the samples of. So, I put it beside here because I felt like it was quite interesting how well it compared. Although I see more red than I do pink, and it's different, but I can't wait to see it in a nib. So, and then Kaveco Ruby Red, that kind of surprised me, but I do love this one, and I consider it even though they say it's a red, to me it kind of goes a little closer to a burgundy or a maroon colored. And then Colby No. 6 Bordeaux, by no means does it look exactly the same, but I couldn't help but pull that one out. Okay, so Napa Burgundy. Monteverde Passion Burgundy. That's interesting too, but look how dark that is in the middle when it's introduced to water in that same fashion. So just can't help but be really interested in all of this. Mont Blanc Burgundy Red. Now that I felt like was getting close. Getting pretty close to our ink of the day. Okay, let's look at some that almost made the panel or made me, look. One was Caran d'Ache Divine Pink. Even though it's so different, it made me, really look at it because this says it's pink. Well, it's kind of red, and it's just an interesting ink. I have never bought a bottle of it because I know it's expensive, but I was fortunate to have a nice sample. Here's your crayon box red, just, Diamine Classic Red, just for comparison as to where we at here. Okay, and then so that we can look at a pink that's a little bit interesting there. Lamy Vibrant Pink, because that's not a Hope Pink or anything, but that's definitely an interesting pink. Okay, then here's another one that darn near made the panel. Diatremendous Dante Alagi. Ooh, I don't know how to say that. Let me hold it up so you can see the word. Oh, I should have looked into that. Anyway, that to me is a maroon color. Kind of comes in down here somewhere by the ruby red. And then you may be familiar with Diamine Oxblood, which it's funny how the color itself looks similar, but the composition is different. That's why I like to put the water on the swatches and really look at it. So, but that, that starts to look like some of the other inks that are on the panel. So, very interesting how that is. Let's see how it compares to the one we'll be doing next month. Okay, and then Diamine Red Dragon, well, that's a long way away, but it has that gold sheen, and it made me kind of look anyway. But again, the composition of the ink, the internal guts of it is different, so very, very cool. Okay, oh boy, I may have gotten too many. Here's Diamine Syrah. Now that's quite similar, actually. I wonder why that didn't go on the panel. Probably because I did want to show some variety, and just didn't make it. That's one I've had since the beginning of my fountain pen adventure, and I really like that. Oh gosh, it just goes on and on. Diamine Burgundy Royale. Very pretty and very reminiscent of several of these that we have here today. Huh. And yet it's deeper, it's darker than Grenade. Probably one. I like the brightness of this, and I like the brightness of Rue Grenade too. Oh, that Tasha Abbey's already there. Okay, here's one we all kind of are familiar with, I think. Noodler's Black Swan and Australian Roses, where, gee, the composition of it looks the same, but it has a totally different facial expression. Very interesting. But especially since if you're familiar with it, it'll help you place today's ink. But I got a little carried away here. Oh, I don't know why I pulled this out. Oroshizuku Yamabudo. Maybe because a lot of times people do ask for that to be compared to an ink. And yeah, we're dealing with a little more, I mean, you can see some pink, but there's some purple in there too. Huh. And it has gold sheen. That may be another reason. Okay, one more and then I'll, oh no, never mind. We already had that one. See, I have a little bit of duplication. Okay, so let's talk about what I thought about the ink. And using the handy tool from Brian at the pen thing. Now this cover is just a cover I ordered from Standard Night. And I have a review of it. But the little booklet is helping me actually to think about different aspects of the ink. Okay, so here it is, and I put down as a remark, very beautiful, unique gold sheen, nice shading. I felt like it was nicely saturated, so I gave it a high mark for that. Well above average flow, and it had good shading too. It was like, if average is just, you know, good, then it was above good. I skipped the bleeding and feathering because of the papers that I'm using. Dry time I thought was pretty average, not too slow and not too, well, I don't know if there's any such thing as too fast, but oh, okay, sheen. Yes, it had some sheen, but it was very subtle. So rather than give it a high mark for that, even though I liked it, I'm just trying to be objective. It's tough. I didn't see any halo or shimmer, although if you just looked at some of the writing and you didn't know what was going on with the ink, you might have mistaken it for a slight shimmer. And then overall, I gave it a 9, which was very interesting because I've taken surveys before where I thought, well, gee, the individual elements aren't rated that high, and then here goes my rating being a 9, so I really liked it, but I wrote down here, awesome color. That may be what determines my, love of the ink is the color. It's beautiful, and you can tell by all the samples I have in that ballpark that I'm crazy about this color, and people know that, so they've sent me some too. Okay, so today it's going to be a little longer because I thought we'd just go ahead and do, we'll just do the, let's see which size, Nick Stewart technique. And so this is not my idea. This is Nick Stewart. He's an artist. And I'll link you to his website because he has courses and everything. But I love to do this. And so I thought we'd just do it right here on camera. I've got off in the distance where you can't see it, I've got some water, some clean water for my big brush, some dirty water that I've already cleaned my regular brush off. And I've got my pens that are already inked up with today's ink. So let's just put a little water down. Now this is just what I had for a brush. I didn't have the one he recommends, but someday as I work through my massive wish list, I'll probably get something like what he recommends. But I just put the water down with this because it is a good brush. It puts a lot of water down. And then I go in and just kind of dab some of the ink. This is right out of the sample bottle. Ooh, pretty. It is kind of fun to watch this. Whoops, I can't remember where I was at with that. Can't see. Oh, it went wild. Look at that. That was neat. Huh. I could see right away that I made it kind of narrow. Usually I might go down just a little further. So let's go ahead and put the bottom section on while that's continuing to work. It works like chromatography, so what you see right now will change. It'll get it'll dry and it'll kind of draw out more of the color. Whoops, oh, this brush. Okay, and I try to put it down below, close, but not touching. If it does touch, it'll draw the ink right down. Oop, okay, it touched a little right there. See what's happening? It's drawing it right down like roots. And then I usually take my broad nib, and I know that Nick Stewart has different pens, really cool stuff. I'm not sure which one it is he recommends, so I don't have that pen. Okay, see where there's more water to draw the ink, it just, neat things happen. Huh. And, oh yeah, it doesn't feel really wet enough. So sometimes when that happens, I go back in with another brush and I just add a little, I cheat a little with a little bit of water because, gee, it didn't, no, it may be too late. No, it's not. It's doing stuff. So I guess it just doesn't move quite as much as some of them. Oh, there you go. Okay, So the other thing I do is I've got the Lamy Vista fine nib all inked up. So I'll go up and find a place to kind of work, and then you see how it just takes a hold of it. And sometimes I'll do trees, but this red doesn't really make me think of trees as much. So I might just, or maybe it might be a different type of tree, like an odd looking tree or something. There we go. It's fun though. But a lot of times it'll already be dry, and see, then you'll just get a dot. So that's where it takes quite a bit of knowing how long to wait before you go in and make details. This part here looks like it's still wet, so I just really enjoy this. It's a lot of fun. And there's no right or wrong. It's just fun. And you can do whatever you want to do. But I can see that pink and even like a light, almost a lavender is coming out. Really neat, but that's funny. I never work that far to the top like that. Usually it takes up the whole thing. Even, well, yesterday's were pretty narrow too. The ones, and the day before that. Yeah, I guess I just didn't put down as much water. So I just thought you might enjoy seeing it start, and then I'll give a peek as to how it dried next time. So speaking of next time, we're going completely different. We're going to go to Sailor Apricot, which is beautiful, beautiful orange. That's just, it to me does look unique. Now, I'm starting to form an opinion of Sailor that their inks are really not just run-of-the-mill. They've got some interesting stuff going on. So I'm starting to, it's my first ink flight that had Sailor, and I'm just really interested. So that's for tomorrow for day 6. And let me know what you thought of today's. We're talking about Sailor Grenade with gold sheen that comes out in certain circumstances and a lot of complexity. I really like it. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching. This is a lot of fun, and I'm just glad to be able to share with you all these samples, finally, to get them out of the drawer and the, baskets and be talking about them and trying them. And last night I had a good time writing with yesterday's ink, too. Although, I have to say, writing with a brown is not as exciting. This is going to be nice tonight to write with kind of a maroon color. And I do have plenty of letters to write. So I'll see you tomorrow. Let me know how your 30 Inks 30 Days is going. Bye for now.